Hello, family. This is PT Touré Roberts, and welcome to the Call Podcast. Man, I love this podcast. If I wasn't the host of this podcast, I would still be listening to it week in and week out. There's such a grace. We're such a community. We're such a family. And it's amazing to grow together as we are encouraged, inspired, equipped, giving tools to walk out our calling. We are not random. We are called, and we're not called to small things. We're called to great things. And I'm just thrilled to be with you once again in this week's episode. And listen, first and foremost, if you haven't subscribed to this, I want you to be proactive, and I want you to subscribe to this right now so that you get notified every time there's a new podcast episode available. Oftentimes, the way that God works is He will use things. You have to set things in place that will allow what God has for you to come to you. We're in a world filled with distractions. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So you have to bake in and build in opportunities to grow, to learn, and to be aligned so that you can move forward in your awesome and amazing calling. If this is your first time to listening to the Call Podcast, first of all, welcome to you. Welcome to the family. I believe that this is going to be one of your favorite weekly podcasts. And I also believe that you're going to see your life grow exponentially week in and week out as these tips, tools, or strategies are brought to you. And what's cool about it is my goal each week is to make it 26 minutes or less. In other words, because time is valuable and time is important, I don't want to take up too much of it, only enough to get you that spark, to get you that fire, to get you that idea that will change your life. Listen, we have been in this series on self-management. And, we talked about a couple of weeks ago becoming a goal crusher. Last week, we talked about mastering identity. And you know what? Do you remember? I said that if you sent me your identity statement, I was going to give you a shout out. I was going to speak it. First of all, I have received dozens of brilliant identity statements, and I am praying and I'm in agreement over each and every single one of them. And I just want to give some of those people who sent emails to me, emails to my office with their identity statements. I want to give some of you a shout out. And again, all that sent them, our team has had them. We're agreeing. We're believing you for them. And I just believe that that it's just going to be amazing as we continue to build community and as you begin to define who you are. It's everything. So I want to give out a shout out to Sasha Yvette Jackson. We're in agreement with you. I want to give a shout out to, and please forgive me if I mispronounced this, but Dolapo Ibadapo Obe. We're in agreement with you for your identity statement. Excited for you, thrilled for you. Let me see. There's more. There's a whole bunch more. Let me see. Here's another one. This is Carmen. Carmen Brooks. We're giving you a shout out as well. We're in agreement with you. We're praying for you. Let's see. What we got? I'm going to read a couple more. Camille K. Brewer. We're giving you a shout out as well. And let me see here. Who we got? We got this. Let me see. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going back between testimonies and people who have sent their emails in. Listen, anyone, everyone. I want to get to today's episode, but everyone who sent an I am statement out, man, we are in agreement. We're so glad you're doing it, and you're going to see your life change. And if you missed that episode, I strongly encourage you to go back to Mastering Identity. That was a game changer. So much positive feedback. And we're going to continue on with our self-management series, because oftentimes what you're trying to accomplish necessitates you accomplishing mastering yourself. You could have a vision, you can have a goal, but if you don't master you, then you can't become the vessel that achieves that. So we're looking at self-management. And today, I want to talk about time. And I want to talk about time management. Now, listen, there are so many resources out there on time management. It's everywhere. It's so important. It's so valuable. And I encourage you to explore in deep ways that you can manage your time better. But even in the presence of all that information about time management, we still oftentimes don't manage our time well. And so I want us to talk about that. I want to give you ways to look at time, and I want to give you some thoughts and some ideas, and I want to challenge you to really see time for what it is, because I'm going to tell you right now, there is little more critical to you realizing what you've been called to do, to be, to produce in this earth, more than time. Time is absolutely everything, because when you run out of time, that's it. It's over. All we have right now is time. So you have to look at time differently. You will look up sometimes and you'll be doing something. You'll get distracted. Maybe I'll just speak for myself. I'll look up and I was going to do one thing, and then my attention got derailed. And next thing I know, I spent time looking at something, reading something, doing something, having a conversation that was longer than I should have had that conversation. And I'll look up and 30 minutes have passed by. An hour has passed by, and it seems like nothing. It seems little to spend, 2 hours on. Well, that's a long time. I think all of us can agree that 2 hours constantly on social media is long, unless you're in some sort of training class or something of that nature. But time essentially adds up. Do you know that all of us have an amount of seconds assigned to our lives? In other words, one day we're going to be down to our last second. Can you imagine? Think about that for a second. If you get down to your last second, what would you want to be doing in that time? And here's the crazy thing. There's a mystery around time. We don't know how many seconds we have to our lives, which means that we have to make every second count. As we are beginning to look at time, and you think about any successful person you will ever want to meet, any accomplished person that you ever want to meet, one of the things that you will know about them is they have a high, extremely high value on their time. Do you respect time? Or do you feel like maybe because you might be young, or you have a lot of life yet still in front of you, you think that I can overspend time. Time has a sense of economy to it. And we're going to talk about that. But first and foremost, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. And maybe this can be in your identity statement. I respect time. I respect time. Why? What is time? Time is currency. Time is one of the very few things that God has given to us to use to achieve what we're called to do, to accomplish our goals, and to experience life to the degree that our life matters. And it matters to such a degree that when we're gone, our life, because of the way that we used our time and invested our time, now begins to matter to people who are alive once we're gone. Time is everything. Right now, in fact, time is ticking away. It's ticking away. It's ticking away. I want you to think about your life, and as it relates to your currency. Energy is currency. Time is the most important currency that you have. I want you to see yourself as a time trader, right? Everything that you and I expend must be an investment. When you think about God created this whole universe and the whole ecosystem of the universe on these things: seed, time, and harvest, which means that for everything that we put out, we should get a harvest back for it. What are you getting for the time that you are trading? I want you to rethink how you look at time. I want you to be a steward, a master steward over your time. Ask yourself the question periodically throughout the day. Put it on sticky notes. What am I getting for the time that I'm investing right now? I feel that thing right there. Which is going to make you not only a good manager of time, but a good budgeter of time. Oh, I feel this right here. Have you taken time to budget your time? The reason why we have a budget in finances is to ensure that there is no lack, that there is no loss, that we're not wasting. A person who doesn't have a budget is a person who undeniably is wasting. Now, sometimes you're so rich that you can afford to waste, or the mentality is, I can afford to waste, but you really can't, because what you are wasting can be somebody else's miracle. So even if you are ultra wealthy, to waste it is a disservice to humanity. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And you have to have that same perspective about time. If time is my greatest natural resource, because when I run out of time, that is it, then I have to pay attention, and I have to be methodical and strategic and really meticulous as it relates to how I'm managing my time. Do you have a time budget? Let me tell you something. And you know, my chief of staff, you know, the chairman's chief of staff, her name is Ashley. And she knows that when I set a meeting, not only do I have a time for the meeting to start, but I have a time for the meeting to end. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I cannot afford to not budget and to not manage my time. And so sometimes she will literally say, yeah, PT will take this meeting, but he'll only have 10 minutes. He'll only have 12 minutes, 15 minutes. This is going to be 30 minutes. In other words, I've managed my time, and I've budgeted my time so much so that I know when I'm coming in and I know when I'm going out. You and I have to pre-plan our time. Now, we know that sometimes things will come up, things out of the blue. I had something come up last night with one of my kids, and things come up, and that does, take away from perhaps how you had planned your time, but that shouldn't be your norm. It shouldn't be like random. Like, you ought to know, as you're listening to this podcast, you ought to have your time budgeted for the rest of the day. From this time to this time, I'm going to be doing this. From this time to this time, I'm going to be exercising. From this time to this time, I am going to be reading a book in the area that I am trying to grow in. From this time to this time, I'm going to be resting. Yes, listen, if it's 11 o'clock and I'm not asleep, that's a problem. Why? Because I have budgeted a certain amount of time that is consistent with the certain amount of rest that I need, that is all connected to how I begin the next day. Do you see how important time is? It's huge. I want you to look at time as your currency. What am I getting for this time? Oh, I feel this is going to change somebody's life. When you begin to respect time. I love social media. I love technology. I love the news apps. All those things are great resources if you can manage them well, right? If you can't manage the amount of time you spend on social media, the amount of time you spend on news, or whatever these sites are that interest you, if you can't manage that, then you need to remove those things off of your phone and build in time for it, and only install those apps on your phone and have a timer. I mean, I bet I would imagine there are apps and tools out there that will help you to manage the amount of time you spend on things that have the potential to be addicting. And if there aren't, make one. Come on, somebody. This is the call. If there aren't, make one. Be the solution to the thing that you need. I'm talking about time management today. I'm talking about respecting time. I'm talking about trading time. I'm talking about asking yourself the hard question, what am I getting for the time that I'm spending? I feel that so strongly. This will change your life. What am I getting for the time that I'm spending in this meeting? And let me tell you something. If you waste my time, you're going to get less of my time. Are you tracking? I'll redo my budget when it comes to you. If I sit with you and you don't value my time by getting to the point, and let me tell you something. I'm not saying be rude, but don't be afraid to step in and cut somebody off when they're abusing your time. Oh, gosh. I mean, seriously, there are times, because some people, God bless them, but their gift is not being clear and concise. And it's not being mean. And you can even preface it with, hey, look, I'm not trying to be mean, but I only have a certain amount of time. Can you please get to the point of this meeting? See, that right there is worth $1 million to somebody, right there. Otherwise, you're going to sit there and you're going to be frustrated. Let me tell you something. I cannot stand when I feel like that thing that I just did wasted my time. You know why? Because I can't get that time back, man. I feel like somebody has literally stolen from me when I give them a certain amount of time based on a certain expectation that they have caused me to believe. And I go into that meeting and they're shucking and jiving. Oh, here's one. They are late. Oh, let me tell you something. I'm going to let you in on a little something. If I budget 20 minutes with you for a call at 11 a.m. and you show up on that call at 11:16, baby, you got 4 minutes left. You better have a great elevator pitch. Come on, somebody, because you just wasted. Watch this. You didn't waste my time. You wasted your time. Are you tracking with me? Because I budgeted for that 20 minutes. So I haven't lost anything. It just means that you have, come on. I'm talking about really, truly respecting time like your life depends on it, because your life does depend on it. I want you to be a manager of time. I want you to, the same way you did your identity statement, the same way you defined who you are and what that person does, I want you to define how you're going to use your time. I believe that God wants us to be good stewards over time. Let me talk about something else as it relates to time. Timeliness. When you respect time, when you respect the fact that you have a limited amount of time, then it also helps you to respect other people's time. I hate being late. It drives me crazy. I feel dirty. I feel sinful because I realize, again, listen, time is always ticking. You can't hear that clock, but it's always ticking. Can't you hear it? There's an amount of time set up for you to do what you need to do. And time works exponentially. In other words, there's a window of time for you to do this one thing. But guess what? That one thing is connected to another thing. And time is divine. And you can't always be relying on God to restore the years that the locusts have eaten. You know, we like that passage of scripture. You know, the Bible says that God will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you get to waste time. Yes, there are times, there are seasons of our lives where we're not aligned with God and it seems like we've wasted time. And it is very much true. The moment that you get into alignment with God, God knows how to make it just as if you were in alignment the entire time. But there is an awakening that must take place. And I'm just going to be a preacher for a minute. I'm going to tell you right now, I just feel like the days are getting shorter. I just feel like we've got to be, in the last days and in the end times, as we look at all the signs that are taking place. Family, you and I don't have the luxury to not respect a time. Timeliness is everything, right? If you have a meeting, and let me tell you something, as an executive, and I'm an executive, I'm a business person, I'm an investor, I'm a lot of things. I'm a CEO by the grace of God. And I'll tell you right now, powerful people who are getting stuff done will despise you if you waste their time. They will literally despise you if you are late. And I mean like 3 minutes late. Like if I have a meeting with you and you're 3 minutes late and you haven't called me to tell me that you're going to be 3 minutes late, I look at you differently. I'll be honest with you. I have things come up, things happen. But if you respect my time, if you're going to be if you're going to be 5 minutes late, particularly if it's my first time meeting with you, then 10 minutes ahead of that, you should be texting me saying, hey, PT, I'm running a little behind time. And watch this. If you think you're 3 minutes late, say, hey, PT, I'm running behind. I think I'm going to be 5 to 10 minutes late. I'm so sorry. I'll get there as soon as I can. So that when you show up 3 minutes late, watch this. You have just bought back my respect because you underpromised and over-delivered, right? Budget, I know I'm getting real practical, but this is so true. If your meeting is at 11 o'clock, plan to get there at 10:30 or 10:45. Why? One, you're making space for something that was unexpected, right? And then two, it allows you to get there, to set up, to breathe, to pray, to review your notes, to review the purpose of the meeting, so that when the bell strikes 11 a.m., you are ready, you are alert, you are set, and you are ready to go. So when you're budgeting time, the same way that you budget a checking account, you budget a budget. The same way you do that, you have to build in space, build in some room for error. That's what happens with a lot of people, right? You only budget, even as it relates to finances, you budget up to a certain point, not realizing that you're going to have to get a new tire that you hadn't factored in, right? So you have to factor in space so that you can be efficient with your time. Are you tracking with me? So my prayer and my hope for you today is that you will look at time differently, that you will look at time as a gift to get accomplished what you have purposed to get accomplished. Time management, the budgeting of time works very, very well with visions and goals because all of those are intertwined. This is what I mean by self-management, right? I have my day planned out. Now, sometimes, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, sometimes I will build in time for nothing. Yeah, sometimes literally I'll say, even as I'm working with my assistant, I'll say, hey, on Tuesdays and Thursdays or on Sundays, just give me a lot of space there, right? Just because I have space doesn't mean that there is nothing there. I'm just creating space to make room for the unexpected. I'm creating space to make room, watch this, for the unexpected inspiration. Sometimes I get inspired in a moment of blank space that will allow me to do something, create something, to deeply ideate on something that I hadn't even considered would come my way. So I'm not saying book your calendar, budget every single second with activity. No, sometimes proper time management is to create space for the unexpected challenge, but also the unexpected blessing, the unexpected idea, the unexpected flow and rush of creativity. Factor that in too. Don't build your calendar all the way to the full. Create space to think, create space to meditate, and create blank spaces that you might use as you choose or as God affords resource. In my book, Balance, there's a whole chapter about the balanced day. And I would encourage you, if you haven't read that, I would encourage you to read it. It literally shows how I plan out my day. My day is literally accounted for. And so when we talk about self-management, time management is everything. Family, it's all about self-management. Self-management is self-mastery. And if you don't respect and master your time, there's going to be waste where there could be great abundance and great harvest. I'm so glad. I hope this episode blessed you. Short and sweet, simple, but right to the point. But I believe it is about the incremental adjustments. I don't believe that the trajectory of one's life happens with these dramatic 60, 70% mood, swings in the right direction. I believe that greatness happens gradually. Sometimes when you have that huge swing, it's hard to maintain that. But little incremental shifts in perspective, in behavior, in disciplines, and how you do life will ultimately, exponentially change your life for the better. God bless you. If this episode blessed you, do a few things. First of all, listen to it again, right? Because typically there's something that you missed the first go around. So I want you to listen to it again. Secondly, I want you to pass it along. Send this to somebody. Somebody needs to understand the value of time. It's going to literally change their life, accelerate their success, and who knows, even save them from heartaches, headaches, save their life literally, because we're respecting time and we're only using time. We're only trading time for things that matter. Review it. I want to know. And listen, it doesn't have to be a great review. If there are areas that you want to see improved or whatever, right now, give me good stars, but put that in there. I want honesty, right? I want honesty. I want to make this a better and better and better resource for you. If you want more information about this whole movement, go to calledleaders.com, CALLED leaders.com. And we want to hear from you. And if you haven't registered for the Called Conference in LA on May 17th and 18th. Listen, do so. I'm keeping it intimate, which means that it's going to sell out, but it's going to be a blessing. Get in now. There's an early bird registration discount, and I'm so excited already. We're a few months away, but I know what happens in that room. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. I believe your life is going to be better as you value and respect time, as you budget time, as you are intentional. Listen, it costs you to be you. Greatness is not cheap. That's why many people, aren't, to be honest with you. They have the potential to be, but they won't walk out their potential because they won't do the work. I need you to do the work. If you master you, you will master life. And it is imperative that you do so. You know why? Because you are not random, my friend. You are called. I love you. Check in with you next week.